Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonigal Boxing Podcast. We are on YouTube, we are on Spotify, we are on Anchor, we are on Twitter and we are on Instagram. Please check me out at the McGonigal Boxing Podcast. Really appreciate all your continued support. Please like, share and subscribe to my channels for the latest and the breaking news in the world of boxing. So let's get straight down to it. The big talking point this week is obviously the proposed super fight between Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. It looks like it's set for summer 2021. But obviously there's two big things at play here. A, where's it going to take place? And B, who wins the fight as long as? Okay, so let's get straight down to the first question. So, obviously, as a UK citizen, and you ask any UK fight fan, where do they want this fight to take place? Between two British fighters, two British world champions currently, and they are going to say 100% the National Stadium, Wembley. 90,000 people in a beautiful evening sunshine, June, July, perfect. However, unfortunately, boxing, unlike the UFC, doesn't seem to run smoothly like that. Common sense doesn't always prevail, and unfortunately the biggest bidder always seems to win. So who is going to be the biggest bidder? Well, we know Wembley Stadium, UK Sport, only has a certain amount of money to bid for this fight. It's a lot of money, but it won't be anywhere near the money that obviously superpowers such as China and Saudi Arabia will offer. Now, with all due respect to China, with everything that's happened over the coronavirus, I cannot see that fight taking place there. I still think people have the precautions and their issues going to China, even next summer. So the likely place, unfortunately for us UK fight fans, is going to be Saudi Arabia. Now we know Joshua has got no problem fighting there. He's fought Ruiz in this rematch. He's going to get a substantial payday. And let's be honest, in Saudi Arabia, he's probably going to get the majority of the support. He's a big star out there. That's not to say Tyson Fury isn't, though. After his WWE venture, he obviously appeared there in Saudi Arabia. He's got a big following. And again, I think he'll bring a lot of his travelling army over to Saudi Arabia. But they will have to be careful because, again, without trying to sound too judgmental, Saudi Arabia have extremely strict rules with curfews, no alcohol, and obviously we know that, Joshua fans as well, but especially Tyson Fury fans, they like a night out, they like a drink, so they will have to weigh that up. But even so, I still expect Fury to bring a strong following. He does wherever he goes. But, and again, he's not going to refuse the vast amount of money. He says that money's important. The most important thing, and I totally get that for his family, and I totally get it for Joshua and his family providing. So that's looking like the most likeable place for this first fight. And of course it's heartbreaking for many of us UK fans, but you can't expect, unfortunately, Eddie Hearn, the astute businessman, he comes across as the people's person, but let's be honest, he's driven, much like his father, Barry Hearn, by the almighty dollar. And I get that. That's why they're successful businessmen. That's why they've built up Matchroom to be the top boxing promotion in the world, as well as other sporting ventures. So you cannot not respect them. You may not like them. You may not always agree with them, but you have to respect that they get the best business deals for their client, and that will be Anthony Joshua, looking probably at 100 million excess, as well as Tyson Fury, if they go to Saudi Arabia. They're still on a lot of money at Wembley Stadium. This is the frustrating thing, though, isn't it? Because, do you chase the money or do you chase the history? It will still be a famous event in Saudi, but it will be truly iconic. And for the British public, who, let's be honest, need a big pick-me-up after the corona, after, the almighty clashes at the recent protests at the moment, a lot of violence and destruction going on in the capital of London. We can have a big summer next summer that's a real pick-me-up, and to celebrate all that's good in British society and culture, two British world champions. both from diverse backgrounds, different cultures, different personalities, different fighting styles, different fan base, a lot of it. It's a perfect mesh. Different broadcasting companies. It would be huge for the British sporting and British industry altogether. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but we can only hope that Wembley, gets itself together and just, by all means necessary, stamps its authority. We are having this fight, even if we have to overbid, even if we maybe have to over budget, we will get our money back, and they would for this super fight. But unfortunately, it looks like Saudi Arabia will for the first fight at least, take the Joshua Fury. Hopefully we get the rematch back in the UK though. So let's get down to the second point. Who is going to win the fight? I watched a very good breakdown actually between Tyson Fury's former trainer Ben Davison and obviously ex-world heavyweight champion David Haye, and they made good contrasting points. I agreed with both of them actually. Ben Davison says, listen, Fury's going to win, and he's going to win quite comfortably. The early rounds will be a case of gauging Joshua, and it will all depend on how that first round goes. But if it's expected, Joshua starts to understand Joshua's flow, his rhythm, his punch pattern, his stance, then it won't take long for Fury, who's a masterful boxer, to riddle and solve the Joshua puzzle, and then start to implement his own style. I do agree with Davison. Fury's got a better gas tank, better engine. He's got more variety to his game. Let's be honest. I mean, I know people say, well, Joshua showed his variety against Ruiz, but he didn't look very comfortable at times. I don't think it was a convincing win for Joshua, despite the Eddie Hearn talk after the fight. Whenever Ruiz, who was badly out of shape, badly unprepared, badly untrained, put pressure on him, he reverted back, didn't he? He was uncomfortable moments. It was just the fact that he couldn't get near Joshua because he was so overweight. And, respect, Joshua's always had a good reach and a good jab, so he kept him out of range. But he's not as fluid or as flexible as Fury. And that showed me a new element when he fought Wilder. The fact that Fury can outbox you. He can keep from distance, but he's also a brilliant inside fighter. He can actually be aggressive. He can fight off the front foot, which I didn't think. He can also punch with both hands, but he can also jab from both hands. And he's probably got the best footwork of a heavyweight since Muhammad Ali. No question. So that's the first tick for Fury, isn't it? The better all-round boxer. The better puncher, I agree with David Haye, is Joshua. He's a specimen of a man. Physically, he looks more imposing and stronger than Fury. I don't know if he is stronger than Fury, though. Again, don't be fooled by muscles and body beautiful. But there's no question his knockout percentage and in rate is better than Fury's. And again, he's a big, strong man. If he can get inside close to Fury and put combinations of punches, unlike Wilder, who's constantly looking for that one punch knockout, which Fury saw a mile off and was very predictable. If Joshua can throw combinations, punch powers inside, hooks, he's got a very good inside uppercut, a very good inside right hook as well. If he can throw that together, a bit like Tyson, I'm not comparing Joshua to Tyson, but the blueprint would be Tyson versus Berbick. Inside against the bigger man, and he threw uppercut, hooks very quickly, but power punches. And Joshua has that ability to generate power from a very short distance. He doesn't need a big take back or a big wind or a big overlooping hand like Wilder does. He can generate from a very short distance. He can generate knockout punches from the inside. So if he can get inside Fury, and this is what I believe will happen in the early rounds when Fury's still trying to gauge Joshua, then he's got a chance. There's no question he could hurt Fury. But the smart money has to say that Fury, for the first early rounds, will be probably looking to be aggressive like he did against Wilder, especially with the brilliant, I cannot understate this enough, the brilliant minds of his new trainers. I'm such a huge fan of of Andy Lee especially. A brilliant mind, and the whole Kronk setup at the moment. But, you know, the fact that they're getting Fury to fight aggressive, I believe Fury will take the centre of the ring and he'll look to impose his will but be very slippery. He won't over-risk things, but again, he'll come out aggressive against Joshua, who doesn't like to be put on the back foot. And I think, you know, over time he's going to tire Joshua out. He's going to pepper him. And eventually, these punches from a 19-stone man add up. They're going to sting Joshua. That's not to say Joshua won't, you know, land a few himself, but I just think the pressure that Fury will put on Joshua will be overwhelming. And I think Joshua, as shown in the past, will tire around the 8-9 mark. And I think Fury gets him out there. I really do, around the 8-9 mark, if he fights like he did against Wilder. Obviously, he's got to expect more coming back. Wilder was appalling that night, but that was largely due to Fury's dominance. But there's going to be more punches and bunches from Joshua. I think it'll be a more competitive fight early on, but I just think Fury will overwhelm him with his relentless pressure. But, you know, I'm sure there'll be some scary moments. I mean, Joshua's a very, very good boxer, and that's not to discredit him in any way, but I just think the best Fury is just too good. And I think he beats Joshua around the 8-9 mark. I think the ref, you know, pulls him off AJ on the ropes, and I think Fury becomes the undisputed champion of the world. But it's going to be such a huge fight. Again, clash of styles, clash of personalities. Joshua needs to go back to the old Joshua. There's no point fighting like he did against Ruiz in the rematch because he'll just get completely outboxed. He needs to put it on Fury from the word go. His best bet is an early round KO. Fury needs to be smart. He needs to, set Joshua up and then just eventually overwhelm him. Take the front foot, pepper him, counter him, make Joshua miss, and then make him pay. And I think that's what my money's more on. And I think Fury gets him out there around the 8-9 mark. But there's a lot of ifs and buts at the moment. Obviously, Fury needs to get past Wilder. Joshua then needs to get through Pulev. Then we need to settle the issue of the mandatories. Usyk wants Joshua for the WBO. Dillian Whyte wants Fury for the WBC. And they're quite right in their rights. They've been waiting patiently. They're the number one challengers. So there's a lot of what we call official business to take care of first. A lot of paperwork, a lot of meetings, and a lot of fighting to go on first. So it's not an official done deal, but the fact that both fighters have agreed verbally to it, they both come out, both the Joshua camp via Hearn and the Fury camp via Tyson Fury himself. They've admitted, they've agreed to a 2-fight deal. That's a very positive step forward. And I can see Fury beating Wilder in their trilogy fight, and I can see Joshua beating Pulev, probably by knockout, in his upcoming fight. So as long as they can negate Usyk and Dillian Whyte, summer 2021, it's on. Super fight, cannot wait. But unfortunately for us UK fans, it's looking like Saudi Arabia. But I fancy Fury to win within 8 and 9. Let me know what you guys think. I want to hear your Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Hear your thoughts on what you think about this fight most likely taking place in Saudi Arabia. And who do you think is going to win? Is it going to